Beijing's political skies are turbulent. On the eve of the CCP's fourth plenum, unprecedented elders returning to court broke out. Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, Li Ruihuan, and Wang Yang all appeared, while Zhu Rongji, bedridden, signed in support of institutional reform. Multiple leaks claim Xi Jinping unusually reviewed his economic mistakes at the meeting and even said he was willing to yield, while the military's Zhang Youxia reportedly declared, "The army obeys the collective, not the individual." Even more startling, two Politburo standing committee slates, Plan A and Plan B, are said to be circulating in Beijing's political circles, pointing to an end to one-man rule and a return to collective leadership. The authorities have not confirmed any of this, but the political world is already boiling. This fourth plenum may be the tipping point for a reboot of the CCP system. Don't miss the next drop, subscribe, and hit the bell. Beijing is shrouded in intrigue. While the CCP's fourth plenum is underway, the external focus isn't on the agenda, but on who's about to be replaced. According to multiple self-media and overseas sources, Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, Li Ruihuan, and Wang Yang all showed up. Zhu Rongji, though long ill in bed, still personally signed in support of reform proposals. None of this has been officially confirmed, but it has already caused massive shock inside and outside political circles. What's even juicier? Rumor has it that Xi Jinping delivered a rare self-criticism, acknowledging mistakes in economic decision-making and even expressing willingness to yield, explicitly stating that economic work could be handed over to Wang Yang or Hu Qinhua. You heard that right. The most explosive line in the leaks, Xi Jinping offering to yield in his own words. At the same time, the military winds shifted. Zhang Youxia is said to have declared, "The army obeys collective decisions, not personal will." That line strikes at Xi's fatal weakness. Stranger still, two leaked PSC lineups are circulating. Plan A led by Wang Yang, with Zhang Youxia entering the standing committee, Plan B led by the military for a gradual transition. These two plans remain unconfirmed internal information, but they share a single point. Xi Jinping is no longer the decision-making core. Some say this is the CCP's Hua Guofeng moment. Others call it a silent coup. What is the truth? For now, the authorities remain silent. But this fourth plenum may be more than a meeting. It may be a life-or-death gambit to reboot the CCP system. Official agenda. Calm on the surface, fissures underneath. According to official notices, the main agenda of this fourth plenum includes drafting the 15th five-year plan. On opening day, Xi Jinping delivered a work report proposing a new five-year plan for 2026 to 2030 with high-quality development at its core, economic and tech layout. Official documents reiterate new quality productive forces and technological self-reliance and innovation, calling for stronger industrial chain security and accelerated tech self-sufficiency. Domestic demand and consumption stimulus. The meeting emphasizes promoting internal circulation, expanding domestic demand, and stimulating consumption to address pressures from an aging population and a weak property market. Security and defense modernization. The communiqué also stresses building a national security system and modernizing the military, requiring the party's absolute leadership over the armed forces. Political signal. Observers note the official write-up is terse yet weighty, no footage of leaders' speeches, no mention of new personnel promotions, but a focus on unified thinking and strengthening unity. Academia generally reads this as a deliberate toning down by the authorities, with undercurrents surging inside. Outside, they watch the meeting. Inside, they watch the people. The CCP's fourth plenum is taking place in Beijing. Party media releases are terse outside. Inside, moves are meticulous and decisive. Self-media figure Xiao Shuajia claims, "The Reformist Party elders have turned out in full force. Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, Li Ruihuan, and Wang Yang personally entered the venue. Putting these names back into the same frame is tantamount to re-hanging the words collective leadership on the wall." The most gripping scene happened outside. Though bedridden, Zhu Rongji insisted on personally signing the relevant reform proposal. Those who couldn't attend still wanted to write their stance into history. When Jiabao brought a memorandum endorsed by the elders, an institutional restoration plan whose core is straightforward. Restore term limits for top leaders. Restore real power to the standing committee. Establish a council of retired advisors. Re-establish the Central Advisory Commission. This isn't a technical patch, it's a trust project. Rebuild the system first, then trust, then reconstruction. Zhu's signature is read as signing for history. A person may be nearing his end, but a path back must be kept for the system. Hu, Wen Li, Wang take their posts, this time they won't back down. Hu Jintao has kept a low profile since the 20th Party Congress. His personal appearance now drives a sea-calming needle into the proceedings. His style is mild and restrained, not power-seeking, but his bottom line is the existence of institutions. What pains him most is that the collective leadership, term limits, and competitive elections he upheld were wiped out by Xi's one-man rule. His return now is not to seize power, but to correct course. When Jia Bao speaks little, but with a memorandum he states, "I stand with institutions." The appeal is plain. Return power to due process, return trust to the public. Li Ruihuan is one of the rare senior cadres who dare to speak the truth, long stressing that the people aren't afraid of truth, they fear the inability to tell it. His presence leads observers to expect sharp, to-the-point critiques. Wang Yang is the central character of this drama. He advocates openness, rule of law, and a market economy. In his view, China can't live on political luck, it must rebuild trust through institutions. Rumor holds that this time the elders' proposal includes Wang Yang's name, with collective support from the military and the elders. In other words, this is not merely a reformist consensus, it is a collective veto of Xi within the party. Has the military's heart changed? One key sentence. Before the fourth plenum, the military had already gone through a purge. Talks swirled that 9 full generals, He Weidong, Miaohua, and others, would be expelled from the party and from office. Of 7 CMC members, only 4 remain. At this critical juncture, Zhang Youxia is said to have told Hu Jintao explicitly, "The army obeys collective decisions, not personal will." The target of that sentence needs no translation. The military's loyalty no longer orients around Xi alone, but returns to the institutional track. For a ruler who relies on the barrel of a gun, this is the harshest line to hear. Xi Jinping's self-criticism and willingness to yield. Self-media figure Shanhe Dongfu, citing colleagues in the Huaxia Freedom Party, reports, "At the fourth plenum, CCP leader Xi Jinping delivered a deep self-criticism in the plenary, admitting major errors in recent years in the economic realm. She noted that due to complex domestic and international circumstances, some economic policies failed to achieve expected results. In particular, in responding to downward pressure and promoting high-quality development, there were deviations and shortcomings. During the subgroup discussions, she arranged a meeting with party elders, separately meeting former leader Hu Jintao, former premier Wen Jiabao, and former CPPCC chairman Wang Yang. She reportedly said with resolve that the international situation is complex and anti-China forces abroad are eyeing them. Within the party, unity must be paramount. Any behavior that could destabilize the party should be stopped. She stressed that he can completely let go of economic matters. Whether Wang Yang or Hu Chunhua leads economic work, he has no complaints. But everyone must not let the party fall into instability. She called on the elders to maintain political composure, bluntly saying, "We communists are one family." Civil-military joint force. A generational change under the name of backfilling. This time, the elders did not come merely to observe, but brought a plan. Xiao Shuajia claims the elders and the military reached consensus to make a systemic breakthrough in the seemingly technical process of Central Committee backfilling. Plainly put, under the banner of backfilling, effect a generational change of officials. The military is not a bystander, but a key driver, joining reformists to push Wang Yang's return. This approach looks very much like a silent revolution. Insiders reveal that the current 20th Central Committee nominally has 205 full members and 171 alternates. By old rules, vacancies are filled in the order of alternate vote ranks, procedurally rigid as steel. Here's the problem. After the recent military purge, many military seats are vacant. If the old slow order is followed, the military's voting weight is imbalanced and time is short. Thus, 3 camps clash within the system. The conservatives don't change procedures. Let non-military backfill military vacancies, bring forward the 21st Congress for a collective re-election. The military quickly fill military seats to maintain its proportion and voice in the Central Committee. The reformists centered on Wang Yang. Treat this as an opportunity. Use institutional backfilling to break the existing pattern and accomplish a political reconfiguration. At a key moment, the anti-Xi camp unified its stance, planning a brand new proposal. Based on practical central needs, The Central Committee's backfilling procedures can be handled flexibly by special approval of the CCP plenary session. This line looks bland, but is a revolution in institutional terms. It means Central Committee backfilling is no longer bound by alternate rankings but can be directly appointed by central special approval, breaking one of the most important iron rules in the party constitution. In the past, Central Committee members were elected by party Congress vote. Midterm backfills followed the alternate ranking order. Under Xi, procedural rigidity was emphasized, keeping power in the organization department he controls. But now it's changed. With the elders regaining influence, this rule becomes flexible, opening a legitimate pathway for Wang Yang's political return. Though Wang Yang is a former PSC member and CPPCC chairman, he was excluded from the Central Committee list at the 20th Congress. Despite elder backing and prestige, he had no institutional position. With special backfilling, Wang Yang can justifiably return to the party center as a backfilled Central Committee member, an institutional lawful reentry. This move is more than Wang's comeback. It signals a correction of the CCP's institutional path. Why bet on Wang Yang? In a word, trust deficit. Why would the military support this change? The military's biggest problem now isn't who sits in which chair, it's trust. Current CMC members like Zhang Youxia and Liu Xinli may have steady control, but they lack political capital. They need someone with prestige in the party backed by the elders and not from Xi's camp to rebuild bridges. That person is Wang Yang. According to insiders, as early as August this year, Zhang Youxia held a secret meeting with Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao to discuss how the military could obtain political safeguards at the Fourth Plenum. Wang Yang was considered the only leader who could represent the entire anti-Xi camp. Thus, this backfilling breakthrough is really a joint action between the military and reformists. The military provides political support and procedural legitimacy. The reformists provide institutional plans and personnel lists. The two depend on each other, forming a civil-military united front. For Wang Yang, this isn't just a personal turnaround, but a chance to prove himself. Though sidelined before the 20th Congress, he never left Beijing nor publicly exited the stage, meaning he retained political reversibility. With institutional backfilling, Wang re-enters the Central Committee, next can be backfilled into the Politburo, and from there to the Standing Committee. This time it's not by favor, but by institutional correction. More importantly, Wang's return symbolizes the revival of consensus politics. After a decade of personalist rule under Xi, the party is, for the first time, showing signs of institutional adjustment. In short, nominally backfilling, substantively redrawing the chessboard. Why is the military willing to bet? Because the trust deficit is its greatest current risk. Though Zhang Youxia and Liu Xinli have stabilized control for now, they need a credible non-Xi party figure to rebuild horizontal trust networks. Wang Yang fits. The military and the elders' united front prize open the narrow backfilling seam into a corridor for generational change. Shanhe Dongfu and the Huaxia Freedom Party leak claim. Roughly 20 Central Committee members need to be backfilled to bolster the decision-making level and raise execution. The list is not public, but one intriguing point is that Ding Xuexiang may be explicitly assigned to oversee the economic realm, framed not as a promotion or demotion, but as optimization of division of labor, pulling the economy back from a battlefield of political confrontation to a worksite of professional governance. Two standing committee slates leak. Xiao Shuajia obtained 2 new Politburo standing committee slates from Beijing circles. Plan A, the Wang Yang plan led by reformists. Wang Yang enters the standing committee as general secretary. Zhang Youxia enters to oversee the CMC. Hu Qinhua enters to manage governance and the economy. Qin Jining enters to oversee technology and the NDRC. Li Chang, Kai-chi, Li Shi, and Wang Huning exit. This is a typical 4-up, 4-down blood change model, returning the standing committee from an authoritarian structure to collective leadership. Plan B, an intermediate military-led transition. Wang Yang enters the standing committee as general secretary. Zhang Youxia becomes CMC chairman and enters the standing committee. Hu Qinhua and Liu Xinli enter the Politburo. The current standing committee does not fully step down yet, but its real power is reduced. This plan is more conservative, yet still transfers power, just at a slower pace. Whichever plan, there's one consensus. Xi Jinping is no longer the decision-making core. In party history terms, every institutional breakthrough marks the end of a political cycle. Plan A is a swift blood change. Plan B is gradual transition, but both point to depersonalizing the decision core and returning to a collective mechanism. Hua Guofeng model and 2A Bei 2 prophecy rumors. Commentator Tang Jingyuan adds two heavy blows. First, Xi Jinping has had his freedom of movement restricted and is under control, with the enforcers possibly being the Central Guard Bureau or the military. Judging by the force of the 9 generals' purge, the military is more likely. Second, the anti-Xi camp prepared two handling schemes. If Xi cooperates and steps down, then follow the Hua Guofeng model for soft landing, allowing him to exit with dignity. If Xi refuses, Zhang Youxia's military will carry out the action foretold in the 2A Bei 2. A soldier bears a bow, calls himself a white-haired elder. Within the Eastern Palace lies a golden sword. A warrior enters the Imperial Palace through the back gate. In other words, the military warrior will force his departure. These two approaches correspond to the tempo of Plan A and Plan B above. Negotiate if possible. Use force if not. At the fourth plenum, top factions converged. The reformists and the elders mounted a joint effort to remove Xi, the accelerator-in-chief of the party's downfall, hoping to save the economy and preserve the party by restoring so-called collective leadership at the top to keep the CCP's tottering autocratic vessel afloat. Can they succeed? Will the people long oppressed by dictatorship give the CCP another chance to rule? We shall see.